Today we are speaking with Christian Kunkel, CMO at Fingercheck. Before we get started, Christian, why don't you share a bit about yourself?
Sure. Yeah. No. Thanks. Thanks for having me. I always love to jump on these type of conversations. Christian Kunkel, like you said, CMO of Fingercheck. I've been with Fingercheck for over 2.5 years now as a CMO, but I actually started my career out as a assistant media planner on the buying side for Cara, an agency based in New York City, or at least the New York City office, doing direct to consumer media for the Pfizer account. So I've kind of come a long way from just media buys that are very, very scripted because there are a lot of legality around advertising around prescription drugs, but also now I've been into startup marketing as well into finger checks, so a lot more creativity. But yeah, it's a little me in a nutshell.
Well, that sounds fun. And you mentioned that you get more creativity at Fingercheck. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your role as CMO, and then we can dive into, Fingercheck itself.
So yeah, yeah, it's definitely. I would assume like anyone in startup mode or kind of like scaling growth mode, it's more creative just because there's a lot of pressure, but there's a lot less barriers. We're still growing processes and like people and departments out, right? So, we just hired our like first director of HR, I think last week. So we're finally getting
Congrats.
rev up and all these things. So everyone kind of wears a lot of hats. So I think it's in order to kind of survive, you need to be a little creative, just because you need to be able to find a solution, even if you're not an expert in it or specialize to that field. But I would say, we're a team of 4 at FingerCheck of marketers. Definitely got some bigger goals this year. So, we're always creative. And I think, when it comes to like our buying audience with small businesses, it's really all about velocity. So you kind of have to be able to crank out a lot of things very fast and just keep going. But for us, interesting to know, like we get a lot of really high quality leads on the weekends, which makes sense. Some of the small business owners, they might take a Saturday or Sunday off, pending the business. And my past where I wasn't going after SMB audience, weekend leads usually were less quality. You want them during the day, 9 to 5, and we're going after mid market enterprise. So I would say, we're pretty creative at FingerCheck. We like to make fun of our own name and branding sometimes, just because it's a different name for our company. But the background behind it is that when we first started out, FingerCheck was literally a digital time management solution for like construction companies. So when you think about it, even like 2013, which is not that long ago, most companies were still using, and that people still use today, like an actual clock in with like a paper card. And, like you have to get, like, if you came in late or worked a little bit longer because the machine wasn't working, you'd have to like go and put your name and get your boss's, initials to approve it. So it's kind of fun.
That's cool. And so for people that aren't familiar with Fingercheck, the platform is designed to simplify payroll and HR for growing businesses, specifically the SMB space. So what, makes your product or makes Fingercheck, especially effective for the SMB space?
Yeah, no, yeah. So we like always like to go talk about like all-in-one payroll and HR, even though everyone always talks about the all-in-one. I would say what really makes us different is since we started out in 2013 with time management, we continued we still continue to innovate, but like for over like a 6, 7 year period, we added scheduling, hiring and onboarding, all the things you need around like secure document, people management, and payroll. And payroll is a pretty complicated product, right? Even today, when you see companies adopt payroll, it's usually like an embedded white label solution. It's hard to kind of build your own payroll product. And I think the thing that really differentiates us is because we're one integrated platform, right? Where everything speaks to each other. We really do offer the all-in-one experience for our customers, because you don't need to have multiple. You don't need to have a time tracking app plus a scheduling app plus payroll. A lot of business owners today, even people we speak to, I was just at a show a few weeks ago. They're like, "So what makes you different from ADP?" And we're like, "Well, we can do X, Y, and Z in one experience, one cost." And I'm like, well, to them, I'm using this company for my timesheets and this company for my scheduling, this company for my alerts, to my workers, and I'm using ADP for payroll. And that's kind of like where we start to really talk about leveraging all in one, and it really makes sense for our SMBs because they're not. It's not like a bloated message like it might be for like enterprise or mid market people or personas. And I would say the other thing that really differentiates us is that we're really built for uh, businesses and like in construction, field service, property management, high volume staffing, businesses that have in office teams, but like distributed and mobile or deskless workforces that constantly require, workers to punch in at a site, maybe multiple sites in multiple states, punch in, punch out, really want to be able to schedule in real time. So like, dispatching, things of that nature. And, all the HR minutia. And at the end of the day, you want to make sure all that data is correct because you want to pay that person and they don't want to have any penalties or you don't even want a bad experience, right? Like what employee likes to not get their paycheck on payday because of a payroll error. So I think we're really built to kind of service that type of SMB that really has a distributed workforce. There's not, when we're looking at that type of market, it's not as saturated as payroll in general.
Can you give an example of, real customer story of a distributed workforce and how FingerCheck was very successful in supporting them?
Sure. Yeah. I think we had one customer, we have a product called Workflows. Very simple. You're able just to, choose from templates or create a workflow that basically automates a recurring task. And one customer was basically our system is built for configuration, not like customization, right? So it's built to configure to your business, and so you can use it and be more efficient. But one of our customers was using workflows to basically automate these recurring tasks and send alerts to their workers to when to get to certain job sites or certain times, right? And then we started saying, oh, like this, you're using workflows to do this interesting thing that not just a recurring task, but to use it to alert someone and kind of be proactive. And that's when we were looking, during last year in our innovation, we relaunched our scheduling module or app and included team chat. So now that same customer that was kind of using something that could solve the problem, great, but not was his main purpose. Now that same customer is able to basically pull up. So say they got a call and like, hey, I need, I'm trying to think. Like I think it was a plumbing example, but it was more like, hey, a plumbing example for a property management company. It was like, hey, my toilet's out or whatever, it's flooding in the apartment. You need to fix it. There's a leak or something. So now that client can basically pull up on an app or desktop or mobile, see what workers are available, ping them in real time, schedule them to the job site in real time, send them the job site requirements on their app. They come that worker goes to that location, punches in, punches out when they're done, records all information, all the notes, all in the system. So now, in real time, that company can not only improve their customer satisfaction because they're able to schedule and dispatch faster, but everything's in one system. So like really kind of take up another level, especially if you're in like construction, say you want to get like a real time look at like your labor costs by job. Because we don't do like invoicing or things like that, but we allow you to kind of get like visibility into labor costs. So you can kind of see based on the job, based on how much you're, getting for the job and the labor costs, like how much you're actually making and like what your profit margin is really going to look like. But you don't need to wait a while. Like you don't need someone to kind of tell you. You can leverage our platform for that now, especially because we have integrations with like general ledgers like QuickBooks and things like that. So I think, it really kind of depends how complex your business is and what you need to do. But you can use our solution for those kind of use cases and then get really crazy with workflows. I think one customer basically is able, they had employees all over the state and, their workforce, I think was like a cleaning crew. They needed new materials for uniforms and new materials for tools and things like that. So they're able to kind of create an automated workflow that tells them when inventory's down, and all of a sudden they'll get alerts to rebuy and things like that. So like we could do a little bit more than just your average payroll and HR company.
Yeah, it sounds extremely useful for SMB. They don't have to invest in like a huge tech stack. It's all right there for them. It makes it very easy then to really focus on their business. And I'm sure you talk to a lot of customers as CMO. Are you seeing trends when it comes to things like you mentioned labor cost control, other things like payroll or HR compliance or just common challenges that they're now facing?
Yeah, I think the SMB market is just a little bit more. It's a little trickier too, and especially kind of like where your target is. Like for us, like our sweet spot is any business with 10 employees to like 500 employees. I mean, we have some customers that have grown with us. We have some customers in the thousands, but that's because they joined early on and grown with us. But naturally, when we're looking at like acquisition, we're looking between the 10 to 500 employee range. And I would say like there's so much noise within that segment, and there's so many different things that are pressing them. But I wouldn't. It's not necessarily like maybe the common threads are always there, like time theft, right? So like imagine just if you like one worker was stealing, I don't know, like 2 hours a week. You do the math times how much you're paying them, and then do it throughout the year, and you're looking at a sunk cost. So like compliance, whether it's like not just payroll compliance, but like labor law compliance, especially by state, right? There's like different regulations like California versus and New York maybe versus some states like Texas. And if you're not using a tech-enabled solution, or you're doing a manual, those things can add up, and then at a bad time, you can maybe owe the IRS or owe some kind of group thousands of dollars, right? So I would say it's always like the common threads and the common problems that they're facing. And I would say like it's just kind of when it comes to SMBs, it's really like macroeconomic factors that kind of make those problems even bigger. So if there are things like tariffs or that are like driving up costs of their supply, or if there's like a downturn or anything like that, those like problems that you're already facing, like time theft and compliance and everything else, those get like bigger, right? Because they eat into your profit margins. And then you start looking like, how can I not just solve this, but now I need to save money in other places. And and that's when they start to really like realize like I'm using 4 different vendors just to do my payroll scheduling, time tracking, maybe even paying an accountant or a bookkeeper on top of it. And I think that maybe sometimes like the trends, like maybe they shine a light to that a little bit quicker, a little bit brighter. But I would say that, for us, we started founded in 2013, really been like focused in like the New York, Brooklyn area, like, and also like New Jersey, Connecticut. We're really looking to kind of boost a little bit of our awareness, because I just don't know, if we're really considered yet in that, like, the competitive set when, like our ICP is looking for a solution, right? I think they always go towards like the brand names like an ADP, Paychecks, things like that. But when we do go to shows, and we have been kind of seeing an increase in like especially inbound marketing, we've been getting a lot of customers kind of tell us the same things like, hey, I've been paying for X, don't want to do that anymore, just want one platform, or hey, I'm being kind of squeezed here, so I'm looking to save some money here. So I would say like the trends are always, the challenges we solve are always there, and it kind of depends on like bigger factors when they get pressed.
I think, you mentioned tariffs. And so I think that's probably on everyone's mind, today. And so if your solution can help these companies manage how they're spending their money and where to find areas where they can cut costs if they have to pay more just to, maintain their business, that's an amazing use case for today.
Yeah, no, and it could do it in a bunch of ways, right? Maybe displacing multiple vendors, or maybe like you said, reducing, like I always go back to time theft, like things like that. Or I think the biggest things we could save them on too are just like the getting caught like in the compliance errors and things like that. Like you can get like workers' comp, for example. I mean, one thing we can do is we offer like real time workers' comp. So say like I work for Fingercheck, I'm in the office Monday through Thursday, but then say I'm on the construction side on Friday, like I don't know, I'm not big into construction, but laying brick or something, right? Like my workers' comp is going to be different versus me sitting here today than me on the construction side on Friday. So like if you were using like a finger check, we like do real time and like a classification. So you would pay the different rates for me each week, and it would be like real time versus kind of like how some other workers' comp with other payroll providers is not. So like maybe you're going to get a surprise credit at the end of the year because you overpaid, or maybe you get a surprise bill. But either way, you want to know where your money is being spent, and rather know you're not spending more or you're going to get charged more, right? You want to like, I think any business owner wants to avoid, surprise bills.
Yeah, I think there's so many capabilities in this platform besides payroll. One thing that's exciting is that you have this influx of money right now to help support growth of the company, which means the company was probably doing well before. But now that you have this, and it could be used for some fun marketing or go to market or even helping build your team, what have you done for your marketing strategy or go to market since you've received some of this funds?
Yeah, I think it's been a good thing. It's always fun to get more budget. Obviously, we were more of like a measured approach, measured see as we go approach to budgeting in the past, and didn't have quite as much investment, but still had a lot enough to kind of get where we are today. I would say first we kind of just looked at when I was looking at the budget, kind of looking at okay, like we're doing this today. Can we like get some more budget to outsource some of this, right? Besides just using maybe like a chat GPT like we did in the past, like at least humans, I hope. But it was fun to be able to be like, hey, we can actually outsource this or grow our freelancer network or use an agency for this that we haven't been able to do. One of the fun things that we've been wanting to do, I guess maybe not as fun, is we wanted to with SMBs, we like to give them free tools and free resources and kind of surround them. That's, I think it's a really a good way of a good value to give them, but also kind of grow branding and kind of grow awareness more organically versus just throwing money against the wall with media or advertisement, things like that. So one of the things we've been doing is working on like free tools. We launched like a work order generator, an invoice generator for free, working on, putting together templates for like scheduling, things like that, that we can give away for free and other things like that. We have a payroll tax calculator. We're going to launch that by state and really make that more custom for each state. So being able to outsource some stuff allows us to kind of have be a little more creative and invest more in kind of what we put out there. And also kind of look at how like our SEO strategy in general, which is always fun. We had a few leads that went to the pipeline that actually told us they found us through ChatGPT. That was always fun. But in the beginning of the year, we really wanted to improve like our activity in Reddit and G2, which we thought would be, or to some of the areas I know like that ChatGPT uses when they're kind of like looking for information. So those are kind of the fun wins we've been able to do, leveraging our budget to be able to outsource some of the, I guess, non-fun or creative things.
Yeah, and I think when you're creating tools for customers as well, that builds on that community and lifetime value. It does have a payback in the end. And what about like customer acquisition? What's working for you right now in terms of getting new customers?
Yeah, I would say, we put a lot of effort into kind of revamping our website the last like 6 to 12 months, adding pages, being more consistent with content and publishing, and just kind of like the objective behind versus like, we're trying to like publish quality, high value things versus just like quantity and put out there. So I say we've definitely seen a big boost in kind of like, our SEO traffic and leads, which have been quality. We've been investing in channels, Facebook and Instagram, that have been really great for awareness and even, some lead gen. And then we've also been, testing out LinkedIn, which we haven't done in the past just because we didn't have enough of a budget to kind of really see an impact there, but we're starting to see that today. So LinkedIn's been great. And then in the past, people would think I always thought it was crazy. But in the past, we did a lot of spend through TikTok. It wasn't a vehicle to really drive like lead gen. It was more of an awareness play. And what we saw was when we had TikTok going with our other like media set, we could really kind of scale a lot faster with a more efficient CPM. So we're able to reach a lot of people with UGC type of ads on TikTok. And we saw that when TikTok was in the mix, especially with like Facebook, Instagram, and those channels, we saw lead gen and those channels go up and cost per lead go down. Right. So we had a nice little, we still do some of that today, as well, which have been really good. And also we haven't done a lot of events like the last few years, but this year we're doubling down on events and kind of going and meeting people and having booths. And that's been a really good experience. And I think, especially with our ICP, like in the 10 to 500 employee range, and in our verticals, like we tend to go to shows that are very verticalized. So we're not going to like the HR techs of the world or things like that, or like, maybe the more like enterprise mid-market plays where you're speaking to maybe HR people or resources or personas like that. We're speaking with the owners, the head of finances at these events. We're going to an event in a few weeks that's all around facility management. So if that sounds like really fun to you, I don't know. But there's a lot of people there, and I'm sure it'll be the first time they heard about us. And I think, they all have the problems around payroll. So we'll be able to kind of solve them.
No, I just like talking to people.
Yeah, right. It's
Hence
fun.
why I'm doing a podcast. But I think it's always great to learn about what's going on in their business and where their needs are. And that just helps you build better product. And I think it's cool with the tools that you're building. You can do, quick TikTok videos and kind of an education section. So that could be really fun as well.
Yeah, there's Emily on my team loves to just kind of leverage like, the memes of the day or the week. I'm not sure if you watch White Lotus or not. A lot of people, like
Definitely.
so it's like those are kind of like the low hanging fruit, fun things that you can do from a creative aspect, just to kind of leverage off that wave. Like you said, put a quick video out on TikTok, and you can do that. Within a few minutes, honestly, maybe even less, and just keep pumping that kind of stuff out as well, which is always fun. We enjoy that.
So, and you mentioned that you can, now hire agencies or additional contractors and hopefully some more team members. What's been your thought process, especially around agencies? Because sometimes they're really good and sometimes you're stuck with D players. So curious to know, your what you look for. And then if you are going to be bringing in some full-time hires, what are the roles that you're looking to bring on?
Yeah, no, yeah, I hear you on the agency part. I would say, I've been working with a bunch. I'll give them a shout out here. It's a marketing design agency called What Else. A good friend of mine started it a few years ago, and we were connected because they had done some freelance work on another brand I was working at, another company I was working at. So I would say they're an agency now because they've grown and kind of established themselves. But I think the best thing I liked about them was that they were just a collective group of minds coming together, and that they're doing amazing and have a lot of clients. They still kind of bring that same mindset where it doesn't really have like an agency feel. But I would say even like when you're scoping out agencies, I think it like just in anything, in our case too, referrals mean a lot, right? Especially with SMBs, like you sell one, you sell many. So when I am looking to you know, maybe even bring on an agency, it's got to be through network, or I'm going to have referrals from, people who have worked with them before to really kind of trust them. Like, you're not going to win me over with a cold email or LinkedIn from an agency. Most likely, I'm going to have some trust before I go into that meeting, and if I were to use them. But definitely love leveraging our freelancer network that I've grown throughout my career, and also just through my teammates. They have their own network, so we've been able to like leverage that. But I do think the like you said, the plan is to bring on some more hire to the team, and we definitely have some specific roles that we're looking for. We really would love to add some more demand marketers, someone to kind of really focus on like customer expansion as well as acquisition. Would love a product marketer, and maybe even someone a little bit more like from more of a manager level, from a project project management standpoint, to kind of help guide some of the teams, because since we're so agile, there's only a few of us. We kind of look at things of like growth and fuel, like, what can we put out there for like the growth engine, right? And it's like we're always kind of like feeding that, but you need to make sure that the ops is like your operations is doing its job, and everything else. So I would say we definitely want to bring on some new people throughout the year.
Well, that's exciting. Operations is one of the first roles I look at outside of growth and product marketing. It really is extremely vital. And I think people sometimes forget about that.
Yeah. I'm lucky. I have a really great ops person that was here before me that I inherited. That I'm very grateful for, Oleski. So luckily I'm good there. But like I agree, especially when especially where metrics, KPIs, and just reporting in general is like really, really important. Depending what kind of phase you're at, you need that, or else you're going to be,
You're never going to know.
hard to do anything if you can't. Who wants to be dashing?
Right. So right now, if you could fix one thing on the growth side, what would that be?
I mean, for us, I think we probably just need bodies. We need that's what I would fix. It would be great to kind of just expand the full-time team. Like I said, agencies and contract, freelancers and contractors are great, but it's rare you find ones that feel like an extension of your team, right? Because like they're serving different clients, right? But I would say that's probably like the biggest thing I'd love to fix, is just be able to hire someone, kind of get them ramped up on the brand, and really just have them kind of come in with like a fresh, open set of eyes to kind of see where maybe the gaps are.
Sounds good. And over the next, I'd say 12 months, what is success going to look like for you? Do you have a North Star for this year?
Yeah, we do. We obviously, the market, we're not OKR yet across the board, but the marketing team, we're OKR driven. We kind of know what our North Star is. And I think for us, it's really about like demand, like, creating that demand, creating that awareness, and also just, closing accounts and having marketing kind of be a part of that. In the past, prior to me coming, marketing was really a little bit of a secondary player in terms of, providing some of the marketing and branding needed. But in reality, a big part of the growth, the engine, was really just like customer referrals, or, referrals from customers. And so like the sales team didn't have to do like traditional outbound, right? So we weren't really like doing a lot of outbound. most the inbound that was coming is really a lot of referrals, which are great, right? They weren't like, they're never cold, they're warm. They come from a trusted person, someone that's used FingerCheck. And so that conversation is a lot easier to have. I would say for us, we've been really turning on the outbound, not even just marketing, but also sales as we've grown the sales like organization and team, right? Doing cold prospecting, things like that. So I think, so we definitely know we definitely have numbers in terms of how many customers or accounts we want to close that are, either market attributed, right? Either generated or influenced. We also have a goal in terms of expanding our customer base. One cool thing we offer, which I think is really unique to us because it's native to our product, is we offer pay on demand. Like other companies, like other earn wage access companies, ours we call it pay on demand, but it's really synced to customers, and if customers want to add like a financial benefit or flexibility to their employees, right? I think it really makes sense when you look at our customer base, because a lot of it's hourly. But imagine, you know, a traveling nurse that gets paid a very high hourly salary, and all of a sudden you work 14 hours, right, over 2 days. Why wait for that paycheck, right? And I think with our solution that's just integrated directly in our payroll experience, you can offer that. You can offer the ability for workers to get paid right after their shift with pay on demand. So it's something like really interesting that we offer. Obviously, it's tied to our payroll, so you have to be a payroll customer to use it. But we've seen really some really great like features and usage. So I would say like another growth goal for us is going to be more fun, because it's kind of like that B2B2C model where we'll be doing some user marketing to kind of drive more awareness of it being available, and also some adoption. But you pay for the transaction fee, and you get your money in real time, and it's really just there to kind of cover the gaps maybe, or provide some extra cash flow flexibility, right?
Yeah, another great capability. There's so many.
Yeah, there's a lot. I mean, it's payroll is not, it might not be seen as fun, but there's a lot of things you could do with it. There's a lot of use cases. And then if you look at it like how we look at things, like the use cases by vertical, they can be insane, right? So there's a lot of things we can solve or do.
That's awesome. So if somebody's out there listening to this and they're interested or want to get to know you, or, as a possible opportunity, as a job opportunity, or if they're interested in FingerCheck, how would they get a hold of you, or where would they go to learn more about the company?
Yeah, definitely. I'm on LinkedIn or X, Twitter, on whatever we're calling it these days. And then, yeah, visit fingercheck.com, but we're pretty active on our social channels. I am as well, but you can get in touch with me there or on the website. And then I still do write some blogs, so you can see me up there. You can get in touch with me there as well. But yeah, we're in a really fun phase. We're growing. We're looking to kind of expand more of our budget and put more dollars to use. So it's a really cool time to know about FingerCheck, and maybe even learn a little bit more about it to join.
Sounds great. Christian, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity. It was really fun.